Young king, you could call the kid sire. Young legend, 108, I'm trying to build empires. No days off, I can never stop grinding. Even when I get the days where the bezels on me shining. Got me dancing like some old flag, I got it.
Welcome to the Not So Privileged podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He's conquered the insurance industry. He's conquered the real estate industry, the tax industry, and he's also in the beauty industry. Guys, welcome, Brian Kutayiah.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Yes.
Cheers.
So, Brian, for everybody who doesn't know, where are you from?
Where am I from?
Yep.
Like where was I born?
Start from the beginning.
Born and raised in a small country in South America called Guyana. Yep. Spent my childhood there and moved here when I was about 12. Better half of my life in Queens, Hollis. Shout out to 50 Cent. I got married and moved to Long Island and just started having babies.
Like, do you remember growing up in Guyana? Like, how was it?
Oh, dude, it was great. It was good. It was great. You know, I've not been back since I came because I have such preserved romantic memories of my childhood. It was probably terrible, but it was so much fun. It was great. I mean, I grew up in a small village where everybody knew everybody. And there are not a lot of people. It's not, heavily populated country by any means. And in the countryside, it's a few people in that whole village, and everyone knew everybody. It was cool. We lived on a beach. We lived like 5 minutes away from the beach. My primary school was like maybe half a mile away from the beach. And it was simple life, man. It was just, wake up, go to school, come home, play cricket, and we usually in bed by at sundown. Like growing up, we didn't have a TV and any of that stuff. Yeah. So everyone would be in their house, no street lights. Yeah, no street lights. Sometimes you wouldn't have, electricity for a little while. Like lights would go out, whatever, and you would just be inside by 6, 7. Everyone went to bed early. Everyone woke up early. So no one's sitting around watching TV and none of that stuff. At least, we didn't get a TV until we were 7, and then we had 3 channels. So it didn't matter. It was simple. Yeah.
So was it a culture shock? Guyana, living the island life.
Yeah.
And then coming to Hollis, Queens.
Oh, that was brutal. That was a crazy culture shock. So I remember we moved here, and we moved to Jamaica first. My uncle lived there, and we moved in. My brother and I came here first. My mom stayed back. So we lived with my uncle and his family in their studio apartment. So, and it was cool. It was fun. Mm-hmm. Just, you made your bed on the floor, and that's where you. That's where you said. That's the immigrant story, man. That's how a lot of us do it. You just come, and then eventually my uncle ended up buying a house not long after, moved into his basement, and that's where we lived for a while. But culture shock. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know with the schooling too.
Schooling, building.
So I'll tell you a funny story. In Guyana, it was a British colony, right? So they still kept a lot of British rules, laws, schools structured the same way, all that stuff. So in our schools, every single school in the country, you wear a uniform, right? And that's not necessarily an American public school thing. So I come here. I'm going to 8th grade, right? My grandmother takes me to Cookies, Jamaica Ave.
Oh yeah. I think we all been there.
So apparently there's a uniform that these schools have. You could wear uniforms to school if you wanted to. And they had the burgundy white shirt, burgundy vest. So my grandmother, she's like, oh, you got to get uniform for your school. So we go to Cookies, and she buys me a uniform. And I was the only kid that showed up that first day of school in 8th grade in a uniform.
I know the kids was getting at you.
It's probably one of the worst days of my life. I mean, I've never been picked on so much, and like I had to live with that whole year of school. Everyone was like, here's a kid that showed up in uniform. Yeah, so it was a big culture shock, and it was tough, man. It's difficult, coming from like your culture to American culture, or I mean, and most states have their own culture, so just even New York culture on its own. And that was a bit tough. First year in high school was okay, but I remember I really wanted to just fit in. I didn't want to be bullied and picked on, and I realized that like I needed to look the part to like fit in and blend in with everybody.
The Jordans.
Right? Yeah. So I needed the clothes, I needed the shoes, I needed all that stuff, but my family, my mom, she was working at Macy's. She didn't have money to give me to go and buy unnecessary crap, so I had to go find a job because I wanted money just to buy stuff. So at 14, so when you're in high school at 14, they allow you to get your working papers. So as soon as I hit 14, I went straight to that office and I was like, I need my working papers now. So I got my working papers and I just went out looking for a job. And I went to like all the little stores in my neighborhood. And I went into this Dunkin' Donuts, it's in that strip mall in Hillside there in Hollis. And the manager, he was like sweeping up the floors at the time that I walked in. And I was like, hey, my name's Brian. I just got my working papers. I'm looking for a job. He looked at me. And now I was short.
Yeah.
I was really I was a late bloomer. I was really small. I was really short. He looked at me and laughed. And he's like, do you know what rapido means? And I was like, fast? He's like, are you fast? And I was like, yeah, I'm fast. He's like, all right. He hired me $5.25 an hour. $5.25 an hour. Hires me, and he says, okay, your shift's going to be on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, starting at 5 a.m. And that was my first job. My first paycheck was about $50. I think I worked like 10 hours that week or whatever it was. I remember just going to a check cashing place, and I cashed that check. And so on Jamaica Ave, you got those dollar taxis. Yeah. I hopped in one of those, went straight to the Ave, bought me an Aniche jacket. Remember Aniche? Do you know that? I don't see it anymore. But I bought this Aniche jacket that was black, red, and white, and show up to school the next day with the jacket on, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" and that was it. That was like that compared to being bullied and picked on, where people are now like, I can mess with this dude. I'm like, cool. Yeah. And I was like, oh crap, I need more money. I need to go buy more stuff. And I ended up getting fired from Dunkin' Donuts because the manager had left and the owner didn't really like me. Plus, I was probably screwing up people's coffee. It's 5 a.m., 14. I don't know what I'm doing. 3 sugars, I give them 10. I don't know. So the place I really wanted to work was a pharmacy where I bought my school supplies. And I went in there every day, almost like every day after school. I would just go in, talk to the manager. I'm like, his name's Rick. I was like, hey, Rick, you guys hiring? The ladies at the front were always like, oh, you're so cute. I need a job.
Hey, gotta use a job.
Yeah, but I remember, and that was my first lesson in, I guess not my first lesson in persistency, but I went in every day for 3 months, and this dude got tired of seeing me.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, you again, kid? Come back. They were so nice to me. He didn't just want to say no. Yeah. He was like, yeah, check with me next month. Come back. And I did. Yeah. So I just showed up again. He'd probably done that many a times to many other kids, and they're like, oh, fine, screw this guy. He doesn't want to hire me. And they just never show back up. And I was like, well, I need the money. I need a job. So I showed up. It took me 3 months, but I come in every day just to say hi. And then one day, it was like during the holiday season when they get a little extra busy, right? He's like, all right, okay, come in Thursday after school, whatever. And got the job, and that was cool. And I don't say where it is, but it was off the books. I was getting paid cash, and my first task was like to sweep the floors, cleanest damn floors you've ever seen. Right? And I worked there all through high school. Every 6 months. I mean, I was working 50 hours a week, and going to school. So I was all like, I had no free time. Like I wasn't hanging out. I was doing any of that stuff, and I was making pretty good money. By the end of it, you know, they kept the pharmacist. He was really cool, and I would just anything they asked me to do, I'd do it. So I was, you know, every 6 months or so, he'd just be like, "All right, you're getting a raise. You're getting a raise," and I was like, "Oh shit, cool." But after that job, I mean, I was making some good money as a 15-year-old. So that's when I, you know, invested in. I probably had like 50 pairs of Jordans. I mean, I even had the pink ones, and I had jackets to match every single sneaker.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's how
So
you do it.
by the time I graduated, I was, yeah.
No, so but we all immigrants. Like, when you first like got to like, what made you think like entrepreneurship? Like, what made? Because our families, my dad is still working.
Yeah.
He's just get a good job as long as you.
Yeah.
9 to 5, you home, take care of the kids.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into entrepreneurship?
I hated school. I hated school. Like, I hated school. Like, I did not. And I saw that. So I think what changed my perspective was, so when I was in high school, my friend's mom recruited me to one of these network marketing companies.
Oh, the Amways and...
Yeah.
I felt like we all done it at least one time.
Yeah, she drank the Kool-Aid, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be a millionaire. You know, come to this meeting with me." And I was like, "All right, whatever. You know, I'll go." So I go, and I was like, "This is so dumb. Like, it's just people just blowing smoke up your ass, telling you all this nonsense, and it just didn't make sense." But what was, you know, I think I went with her. I was just being. She used to let me drive her car.
Yeah.
She used to let me borrow her car.
Yeah.
So, you know, you need my help. No problem. Yeah. I get the car. I guess one good thing that came out of it was the book recommendations. So one of the, whatever they are, recruiters, whoever it was, recommended this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad,
Yep. So I went out, got that book, and I read it, and I was like, interesting. That's a really good book. And then in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki recommends 2 books that he's read, which is Think and Grow Rich and Beating the Streets. So I ended up getting both of them, and I decided to read Think and Grow Rich first, and I never read the other one. But after reading Think and Grow Rich, it kind of makes sense because, you know, and again, I'm not saying being an entrepreneur is easy. I'm not saying that is a route that everybody should take. Right. It's not easy. Don't be fooled by people standing on stages selling you a dream, right? It's not easy. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. And
you kind of have to know that, or you'll figure it out eventually, right? So I'm not knocking any 9 to 5, any jobs like that, because, you know, I have friends that are completely fulfilled with the work that they do, and I'm jealous of that. Like my brother, he's a scientist, and he loves it. That's, you know, he doesn't make a ton of money, but he's a professor, and he's passionate and he's fulfilled. And I'm like, oh man, how can you be? But that's what works, right? Yeah. So you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not in my personality. I have to just keep doing things, trying things, and see where I can go, because I enjoy the build, I enjoy the journey. But going back to that, my mom practically disowned me when I said I'm not going to school. Yeah. She basically, the whole family, and my grandfather used to be like, "You're gonna be a bum. You're gonna work at McDonald's all your life." I'm like, I don't even work at McDonald's. But like, you know, because that's what we are trained. That's what we were told. Like, hey, go to school, get a degree, get a good job, save your money, blah 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 blah. I was like, no, I'm just gonna find my own way. I'm gonna, you know, I don't see it. I do not So outside of that pharmacy job where I worked, an hourly wage, everything else that I've done has been either just 100% commission or starting my own business, right?
Yeah.
Because my thought is, I don't want anybody to tell me what my worth is, right? So if I made $1, then it's my effort that made me that dollar. If I made $1 million, then it's my effort that made me that $1 million. So the starting out was really hard because you don't have any experience, you don't have any money, you don't have any network. So I was 23 when I started my first business, and for 2 years I made no money. All of my employees got paid way more than I did. Finally, in the third year, I was like, oh shit, okay, I see it now. And then and that's how it goes. And a lot of new business owners don't really understand that. Sometimes, especially when you're starting out, you have to pay yourself last. Like you gotta take care of your people first. Yeah. For me, it was never. I would be a terrible employee.
I don't think so, because I feel like as a leader, you have to be able to be in the role of an employee.
No, I'm good at that.
Yeah,
I can do that, but it doesn't mean that the person that you're working for understands the same principles.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I give you that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like your third year, that's when you like started to see the money. So like within those 2 years, like how was you feeling, like the drive to get you the day to day? You just see what was at the end, or like?
Yeah, you have to, because there's no, why else would you be doing it?
Yeah.
Right? You can see, okay, year one, all right, maybe we break even, maybe you lost a little bit of money. And in year two, you grew, but then your expenses grew as well.
Right.
But you saw the growth, and you're like, okay, cool. If I put in a little bit more here or a little bit more there, then you can kind of envision where your numbers are going to be. And that's the thing. First 2 years in a business is the most difficult, right? And that's why typically IRS allows you to take losses on your new ventures for the first 2 years until they start really scrutinizing it. Because by year 3, if you're not making a profit, then I don't know, maybe it's not the right business, right?
I mean, the stat is for the first 3 years, 97% of small businesses fail. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. So, but that third year was actually a turning point in my life, because that was when I actually was able to pay myself, and then move out. So, moved out of grandma's house and got my own place.
So how did you find yourself in insurance?
Yeah, I think if you ask that question to most insurance people, the general answer is going to be by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was I had about 6 tax offices in Queens, and the tax business is great. I loved it. It's a great time. It's a whole year's worth of work in 4 months, and I would typically work 4 months out of the year and just chill for the rest of the year. Yeah. So, but I had all these storefronts, and I'm like, man, I'm spending 6-figure a year in just rent. If I can just have an ancillary business that would just cover the rent. All I wanted to do, I knew, like, if I covered what my rents were, I'd make like an additional $120,000.
Right.
And I was like, I could use that. So I just really wanted to cover the rents in these stores. So we started looking at like other kind of business. I was like credit repair, can we cross-sell that to our customers? It's not a big enough market. We did a bunch of other stuff, and then a friend of mine was like, oh, insurance. And I was like, I don't want to sell a car policy. You get $100, commissions, blah, blah, blah. That seems like a lot of work for not a lot of money. I didn't realize at the time was like in the property and casualty business, we actually get lifetime renewals, right?
Right.
If you keep your customers on your books, you renew their policy, you get paid every year, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that. But then I tried to go independent. No one would give me an appointment because we didn't have experience. Just got licensed. So a buddy of mine was like, oh, Allstate, go check out Allstate. They've got a scratch contract. It's really great. And I was like, cool. I had a meeting with Allstate. And they're like, yeah, we like what you've got going on. we'll let you start a scratch agency. And that was it. We started a scratch agency. Initially, they told me I could operate it out of one of my stores in Queens. And right before I was getting ready to open, they're like, Long Island would probably be better for you, given the market conditions. I did not know that they did not have a great product for Queens market.
Okay.
So they encouraged me to open Long Island for that reason, and which was a blessing in disguise. And actually, it was great. Our first office was 700 square feet. Yeah. It was 3 of us in there, but I was so excited because I didn't understand the business, and now that I understood, it's like compounding interest. Yeah. Keep your book bigger. You grow really big with this thing. So our first year, it was me and Anthony, and we were the only 2 salesperson, and I just called everybody I knew. We didn't buy a single lead. We just hit up everybody we knew, all of our customers, and we just became a quoting machine. And it was so much fun. We actually had a good time. And I would say after the first year, I was looking at the business. Now, we did get enhanced commission at this time.
So what does enhanced commission mean?
So when you're starting, a lot of these captive companies, when you start scratch, when you start from zero, because it's so hard to build your book, it takes time to build your book, they would give you advanced commissions, just there's a little cushion for you to have enough cash flow to keep building, right? Right. So it was a scale down commission. It started 43% commissions, which was huge. 43% of the premium would be our commission. So if we wrote $100,000 in premium that month, then we would get a $43,000 check. Yeah, and it scaled down by half basis points every month until it caps off. I think at the time they were paying 10% on average commissions.
So basically, you're saying if you bang it out for the first year, let's say you really go hard 24/7. Mm-hmm. You do maybe $130,000 a month in premium. You would possibly see about, I want to say, $400,000 for that year in just commissions.
Yeah, but again, it's temporary. It's usually good for 2 years, right? Because what happens is you would be building up your book, and then your renewals will catch up to replace what you're losing in the advanced commissions. So I don't think there are a lot of companies that are doing that right now. But after that first year, I was like, oh crap, I'm in the wrong business. So my tax business, you gotta understand, I'm managing 50 part-time seasonal employees. Right. Across 6-7 locations. Right. It's a lot. Oh yeah, so I'm sick. I'm not coming in. It's snowing. I can't make it. My car broke down. I mean, it's crazy. And you have customers calling "Where's my check?" Yeah,
everyone's walking.
Yeah. So it's a very, with that business, we depended a lot on walk-in traffic. Yeah. So being visible, being in high traffic areas, that was our clientele. And if someone didn't show up, open a store, no one's there doing a tax return, I mean, it can go south really fast. But it was a lot of work in that 4 months.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been in taxes, insurance. Right now, what do you think the current insurance market is right now?
Oh man, it's an interesting market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issues that we have in the insurance market right now is that carriers are losing money due to underwriting profitability, right? So in 2020, what happened was everyone was home. Not a lot of accidents, and there was actually no catastrophes in 2020. So insurance is usually priced based on the year before. So if you look at 2020's numbers, when they priced for rate increases in 21, they were based on 2020 numbers. Yeah. But in 21, the market opened back up. People went back to work, went back to the office. People started driving again. All of a sudden, everyone forgot how to drive. So you have accident severity is way up. But not only that, cost per claims went through the roof because you have your supply chain shortage, your chip shortage, mechanic shops, that having to pay more for labor and all that stuff. So the cost for a claim went through the roof. And now all these cars have so much tech and sensors in them. It's just not as easy of just like replacing a bumper. You have to do a lot. So what we're finding is that carriers were totaling cars for little fender benders. It was cheaper to total the car than to repair it.
So with Tesla, I want to say maybe about about 2 years ago, when Tesla first, had their spurge, there weren't any Tesla shops.
Right.
So if a Tesla got into a fender bender, it was an automatic total loss.
Yeah. It was done. So the issue now with everything that happened in 21, carriers are starting losing money. Plus we had 2 catastrophes in 21. So every single carrier were losing money. And typically what happens when a carrier collects your premium, they invest it and they make a return on that investment, safe investment. But the market's not doing so great, so they're not making that investment income. So now they have to go back to figuring out how to make a profit on underwriting. So what that means is that now they're very strict on the kind of customers they want to bring on. They don't want to keep opening themselves to more exposure and lose more money, so they'd rather not take the business.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing. It's now becoming a countrywide issue. It was usually, it was a California, New York issue, Florida for the hurricanes, but now we're seeing it countrywide where a lot of carriers are taking a step back from wanting to bring on a new customer because they're not adequately priced. So they have to wait for their rate increases to get approved and cycle through their system to know if they can be profitable or not, right? And nobody wants to run a business that's not profitable.
So now this like brings me to my next point. When you first entered the industry, you was with a captive company.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to say you transitioned into an independent agency, into an independent network agency around 2021. Mm-hmm. So do you think that was like the best decision you've ever made?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yes, it makes sense. I would have been still very comfortable as a captive, and if that was it, if that was all that I wanted, I would have been fine. Matter of fact, my wife didn't want me. She was like, "Whoa, why would you leave this? This is good." And I'm like, "It is good, but it's not in my nature to sit still. I'm not. I have to see if I can do something better." Yeah, it would have been good. And again, the captive thing is not bad. It's a great, if you have a decent book, you take care of your customers, take care of the company you work for, you can live a good, comfortable life.
Yeah, but now, what if we get to a point where we're in the economy that we're in now? The insurance company that you write for, they decide, hey, look, I'm going to shut down all new business. I'm going to start cutting comp. Mm-hmm. Now you're stuck.
Now you're screwed. Yeah, right. Which sucks because you're pigeonholed now, and you can't do anything about it. And that's one thing that I was afraid of, and it was part of the reason why I sold. I started to see small changes, and I said, well, I don't know about this.
Right.
So I'm happy that I made the right move.
Yeah.
Happy that I did it in the right time, and I'm grateful for where we are now because we're growing pretty fast, and we don't have any limits to our business, right? We can scale as big as we want. We don't really have anybody telling us, oh, you can't do that. Well, no. I mean, we can be in any state we want. We can be as big or as small as we want. Plus, we have over 100 carriers that we work with now, so we don't really have to turn our customers away.
Speaking of no limits, so in the next 5-10 years, where do you see Clarity, Thieves? Like a goose head, bigger than goose head?
Yeah. Maybe. There was one thing that I envisioned us being that I wanted to be when I was a prior captive, and one of the saying there was, be a face and a place in your community, right?
Right.
But I didn't have the products to take care of the community, and especially us.
Yeah.
Our communities, we don't have the products; they don't exist.
Yeah.
So I really want to work with carriers on figuring out how do we own the right products for these communities, right? Because back in the captive days, our client profile was, married homeowner, white picket fence, 2 cars, great credit. I was raised by a single mom. I screwed up my credit when I was younger. You know what I mean? So I was not a customer profile for that carrier. But insurance it's tough. It's very difficult, especially to write, in our communities, because we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, a lot of insurance fraud and stuff that goes on. So if we can help build awareness, because everybody else around you is paying for it.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It does affect you.
Yeah.
It does affect you because you are paying for it. But yeah, I mean, that's what we want. That's what we want. We want to be that face and a place in that community, right?
Nice.
And we're gonna try to have the products to take care of that community. So that's our big vision. We want to have agencies across the country. And we want to work with good people. We want to work with people that have a passion to take care of their customers. Right? Just like we do. Right? We want you to have that passion, that excitement. The money's gonna come. It's a great business. You're always gonna make money in it. It's not hard to make money in it.
Right.
But figuring out how to do the right thing first, and the money always comes. Always.
I feel like it's easy for people to get blinded by the money, and then they start making very bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's why I completely agree with, if you have the right mindset, the right attitude, you actually have the passion to do the right thing for your customer and for the benefit of your company, then it should work out.
Well, listen, I don't see another business, and that's why I've put, I'm all in on this. I don't see another business model that has that reoccurring revenue. I don't.
Yeah.
That's scalable. And this is one of those businesses that's kind of like that well-kept secret. Only a select few know that it exists. Because the barrier to entry on this could be a bit high sometimes.
I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that's charging, what, 60, 70, 80,000?
Just to get in.
Just to get in.
Yeah. And those are probably going to go up based on this current market trend, right? So what we're seeing, like, we just came back from Vegas from that conference, and so we're seeing, a lot of carriers moving away from that singular individual appointment, prefer to handle it through, a network or group or a franchise or something like that, because they can take that cost out of their system and pass it on to us.
Speaking about this, how do you do all of this with 4 kids?
I don't know.
That's the magic question.
How do you get the balance of work life?
So I say like I'm a full-time dad first.
Yeah.
And then this is like close second. And I spend a lot of time with my kids. I do, and I enjoy it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Sometimes I do get a little, oh man, I should be working, or I should be doing more. And I have to remind myself, I don't have a lot of time with my kids. Like, if you have kids, you actually don't have a lot of time with them.
What is it, 18 years? And then
it's not even 18 years. It's not. You have about 5 years.
5 real years.
You have about 5 real years with your kids, right? So my oldest is 7 now, and he still loves hanging out with me.
Yeah.
Loves it. But if he had to choose now, he would much rather go hang out with his buddy. Right?
Okay.
And now, after school and stuff, he's like, oh, I wonder what Nolan's doing. Maybe we can go over to their house. Right? And he's 7, so, the older they get, the less time you're going to have with them. I can always hustle.
Yeah.
I can always make money.
Yeah.
But the time that I have with them now, that's it. It's not going to be there, right? So I always have to remind myself of that, because sometimes I do, I'm home and I'm like, oh, I should be in the office. I should be making calls. I should be talking to people. I should be doing that. And I have to get in my head and say, no, you're doing the right thing. Because money, business, that's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
But yeah, you really have that first 5 years. And then after that, after they're out of the house, I think for the rest of their life, you might have like 1 year in total, right? They go off to college.
Yeah.
What am I gonna, what am I seeing on Christmas, Thanksgiving,
They come back
right?
with
And
a
then
girlfriend.
they get married, they move out, they have their own families, and so.
I mean, the next time that you're really gonna see them is when they drop off the grandkids.
That's right, exactly. No, I'm enjoying it, man. I love it. I love every moment that I have with my kids. It's great.
Well, boys, I mean, you got one more away from the start.
No, I'm good.
Hey, look,
good.
you're right there.
I'm
You're
good.
like-
I'll pass on that.
You're right there.
Nope.
You could be the LeVar
I'll be
Ball.
the fifth man. I'm good. I'm good.
So, what's some of your favorite things to splurge on?
Oh.
When my wife allows me, watches.
What kind of watch is that?
This is the Batman.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of your, I don't want to say favorite, but what's one of your dream watches that you would buy?
Well, I'm pretty content now. So maybe when I get to the next level,
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Richard Mille,
No,
Audemars.
no. I tried on a Richard Mille. I mean, that thing was like air, man. You don't even feel it.
Yeah, super light, right?
Yeah, super light. But I don't get the hype. I don't think they're attractive. That's just I think my favorite watch that I really, really want next is probably like the Rolex Panda.
Rolex Panda.
Yeah, so that's the Daytona, the stainless steel Daytona
Yeah.
with the black
Black and white. Yeah.
That's beauty. Yeah.
So Brian, 17-year-old just getting out of high school or whatever, what's the first skill that you think that they should try to learn?
The ability to communicate with people. I think that's the most important skill that you need to have, is being able to get your point across to someone, right? And that typically, you can sharpen that skill with a sales job. Everything in life, everything is sales, right? Every single thing you do in your life is literally sales, right?
Yeah.
Taking a girl out on a date, well, I'm a really good guy. You're selling yourself, right? And that's what we do all day. So I think that would probably be the most important skill that you would want to have, is that ability to communicate with people. That's where I learned, like right out of high school. As soon as I turned 18, I got my real estate license.
Yeah.
Start selling real estate, talking to people, selling stuff. Yeah.
That's how I started.
Sales, yeah. Yeah, because what you're going to find is that if you're comfortable talking to anybody about anything, then it gets easier to do the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What you need is like a sense of confidence behind you, right? You have to be confident in what you're saying. If you're not, then no one's really going to buy from you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
That's one thing I learned at Allstate, the cold calling.
Yeah.
I used to be on the phone nervous. Hello.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, you're like, no, just speak with authority, because you're an expert in the matter, right?
Right.
But a lot of new salespeople don't really quite understand that, because they're nervous and they're shy and they're scared. What are you scared about? They're gonna reach through the phone and bite you or something? Like, there's something to be scared about.
I think the first thing when I first started out, the scariest thing was a no for me. And after a couple no's, you're just like, okay.
Yeah. Thick skin, man. That's it.
You just started to go that thick skin, and then it's come natural to you.
It's like talking to a girl that you meet for the first time. You never seen her anyway.
Yeah.
You got 5 seconds to impress her.
Exactly.
That's your only window. If you can't do it then it is what it is, you know?
Get away from me.
I got another question for you. So, outside of insurance, you also have a franchise in beauty waxing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what makes you say, "Hey, look, I'm already successful in insurance. I did my thing in taxes and real estate. I'm gonna invest in beauty."
How to explain this? It was one of those rash this is like, I don't like seeing too much money in my bank account, because then it's like, I need to get rid of it.
Spend it.
Yeah. Because then I'll just, let's go on this vacation, let's do that, or, buy something. So I try to get rid of it when I don't really have anything accounted for. So it was during COVID, and I was like sitting on this cash, and I bought investment properties, and I was like, so I got this, and I don't really find out a property I like, and I saw this, and I was like, my mom was out of work at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna open this business for my mom. Yeah. So that's how I ended up with the Sugaring NYC franchise. Because it's another good business. It's a good business model. Just like me going to a barber. I go to my barber like every 2 weeks. Yeah. And I'm religious about it.
Hey, look,
right?
You know how I feel about barbers.
Yeah. So it's the same principle, right? It's waxing, hair removal. It's organic. It's better than hot wax. Doesn't damage your skin and stuff like that. And I saw it, and I was like, this my mom's really good with people, and she's been in customer service her whole life. I'm like, this is gonna be a good business for her. And I thought the same thing of like, okay, you get your customers in, and you take care of them, and they're gonna rebook and keep coming back. So it'll take a little time to build up your books, but eventually you'll have enough consistent clientele to make money, and that's the idea behind it, really. But I did it. I bought the franchise. I built out the store. Did all that stuff a couple weeks before opening. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I'm a little nervous. And she's like, I'm just going to go back to my old job.
But you can't blame it all,
No. But it's good. We're we've got good staff. We're running it. It's growing. It's building. If you really want to make money, you invest and you dive into one thing that you can scale to make money.
But how do you know how to invest into it? So like the biggest thing that I feel like a lot of people face is like, they don't have the money to do it. Yeah. They don't have access to the money to do it. Right. And they don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Well, that for me was a mistake. I should have never done that. Not that it's a bad business by any means, but I don't have time and attention to give to it. Okay. All right. So one thing that people are confused about, people hear nonsense like, oh, millionaires have 7 streams of income, so that means I need to have like 7 side hustles. Right. Stupid. No, millionaires only diversify to preserve their money. It's not usually how they make their millions. They make their millions doing one thing, and then they'll spread it out and diversify it to keep their money. Right. So they don't do 7 things to make their money. They do it to keep it. And that's one thing that I didn't understand for a while, because I was always trying to do this, trying to do that. And now I'm just like, no, I have one thing. I have the vehicle. I know what I'm doing. It's all I'm going to focus on. Yeah. So I need to get rid of all the other, distractions. Like I sold the investment properties. That was a distraction. This one, my wife's really operating. She's running day to day. I'm not really involved in it. Not a big distraction for me. But everything else, I need to get it out of my head and say, well, this is the one thing that I'm focusing on, and this is how I plan on making my millions, and just go all in on that.
Yeah, no, dude, you got a point there, man. You got a point, because on social media, all you see all day is you gotta have 7 streams of income.
No, it's bullshit.
You need a side hustle.
Where do you have the time and energy for
that? Right,
exactly. Like, who has? I don't get it. This just makes no sense.
No, look, they expect you to run off of 8 or 9 espresso shots all day.
Yeah, no, you're gonna crash and burn, and you're never gonna give anything the full attention that it needs, and chances are it's never gonna go anywhere. But that's something that I didn't understand either. I had the same feelings about like, oh, I need to have this business, I need to have that business, I want to get in this business. And even up until, what was that, 3 years ago, I was still like, I'm gonna open this business, I'm opening that business. It was only until recently that I was like, that's all stupid. Like, this is the one thing that can actually take me where I want to go. Right. And then when I'm there, it's like, okay, now we diversify. Right. Now we put the money to work. You can't put money to work that you don't even have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, look, Brian, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Well, appreciate y'all having me.
Pleasure.
And guys, we're gonna drop Brian's social media handle on the link below. If you have any question, Brian, do you mind if they reach out to you by email?
No, it's all good.
So Brian's email will be listed on the link below. if you ever want to enter the insurance industry, I believe Brian is the perfect person to reach out to.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll point you in the right direction.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. See you next week.